Imagine yourself sitting inside a cell, receiving the bare minimum of resources, while simultaneously awaiting your day of execution. For inmates around the US, this is their reality. Although a crime has been committed, the death penalty is a brutal and unjust retaliation for inmates who may have committed the same crime as someone else who was only serving a life sentence. As for the basis of my argument, I will begin by explaining how the death penalty is unconstitutional and invalidates our right to life. Starting off with what I feel is basic knowledge, the death penalty violates the constitutional ban on cruel and unusual punishment and guarantee of due process of law and equal protection under the laws. It also puts the innocent lives at risk. Being Black in America, it is very apparent to me how unjust our government systems are and how easy it is for Black men and Black women to be wrongfully accused of a crime. As for the death penalty, they are not only at risk of losing their freedom, but also at risk of losing their life over crimes that they did not commit. Due to 1918 Penny v. Lanall, those diagnosed with mental retardation can face the death penalty without violating laws. And according to the Amnesty International and National Association on Mental Illness, 1 out of every 10 who has been executed in the United States since 1977 is mentally ill. As Professor Benjamin S. Yost wrote in 2019, because execution violates the murderer's right to life, and because the inviolability of the right constrains legal and political institutions, regardless of their aims, the death penalty should be abolished. On another note, not only are human rights at risk, but the basis of the death penalty revolves around racism and racial bias. Professors of political science Mark Peffley and John Hurwitz stated in 2007 that the discriminatory nature of capital punishment, in other words, is more than a mere perception. It is reality. A vast majority of Black people facing the death penalty are convicted of crimes that are indistinguishable from white people serving lengthy sentences. Based off of the chart you can see in my PowerPoint, Black people constitute 42% of death row inmates. And after further research, it was discovered that it is much more likely for a Black person who murders a white person to be sentenced to death row than it is vice versa. Specifically, the odds are 4 times higher to be sentenced to death row if the defendant is Black rather than white. So, to top it all off, the focus of the death penalty has transitioned from morality and constitutionality to charges in which innocent people may experience racial bias in the application of the penalty. Now, as far as execution goes, how are we supposed to deter people from killing when we kill them for their crimes? It is impossible to teach people that killing is wrong by also killing. Some people may justify this by saying it's an eye for an eye, but that is denounced because if it's really an eye for an eye, wouldn't rapists experience rape as a punishment instead of death? Like author and researcher Sarah Roberts-Cady stated in 2010, retribution implies that any punishment which is equivalent to the crime is morally acceptable. It would entail that it is appropriate to rape the rapist or torture the torturer. Unless one is willing to accept this unsavory consequence, one has reason to reject this standard. Retribution also allows the government complete control over what punishment is morally permissible based off of their good judgment. This holds extreme bias and can end in an unjust sentencing. How is it fair for a group of people to decide if you deserve to live or not? Lastly, as these killings are happening, a significant amount of tax money is being depleted to pay for it. And I'm not sure about y'all, but I'd rather not pay for a system in which thrives off of ending lives. In order for the death penalty to happen, there are legal, pretrial, jury, trial, incarceration, and appeal costs. Senator Christopher Bateman, the bill sponsor, says that it makes more sense fiscally to have inmates be sentenced to life imprisonment without parole than to have them sit there on death row and go through appeal processes. For example, in 2011, researcher Richard Williams reported on behalf of the state legislation that New Jersey abolished its death penalty in 2007, in large part because the state has spent $254 million over 21 years administering it without executing a single person. Just take a second to process this. That is $254 million that could go towards education, our prison systems. It can go towards better communities. We could use that money to teach people how to do and how to be better instead of wasting it on killing them off. With all that being said, there are too many valid reasons for the death penalty to still be enacted throughout the US. As an alternative, in 1994, Professor Hugo Boudet spoke on why life without parole should be so attractive. He stated it's easier to win in court than the death penalty and cheaper by 1/3 or 1/2. It raises no risk of wrongful execution, means killers can be required to live the rest of their lives working to compensate the victim's family. It is indisputably constitutional and may actually deter crime. Life without parole is a simple solution that teaches inmates to live with their decisions rather than locking them away and ending their lives. This is the best decision and should be the hardest punishment available for sentencing. So, what can you do to help the death penalty be abolished? You can sign petitions. Change.org is home to thousands of petitions, with many having to deal with the death penalty. You can also share the word. You can post on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or even share petitions that you have signed. With that being said, help me, help America change the system and get the death penalty abolished. Thank you.
Good job.
Good job. Awesome.